¿Qué pasa, churros y tácticas campeones? And welcome to a Churros y Tácticas Podcast. It is Tuesday, the 10th of November. I was going to say Monday. We're, of course, recording this on a Tuesday. And joining me here is Kiyan Sobhani to break down all of La Liga's action. And forgive me if I'm not overly enthusiastic today, but despite the, can we call it, big Barca win and the massive Real Madrid loss, I'm not really in the mood of celebrating anything today, Kiyan. The news is hit. Ansu Fati will be out for 4-5 months, maybe less. Let's not push it with the youngster. It's bad news for Barca. It's, of course, bad news for Madrid. And despite the win, it just shows that we still cannot be overly enthusiastic or optimistic about the way things are going, despite that 5-2 win. I don't know if you saw, Kiyan. I don't know where you want to start. I imagine with the Barca news, the Ansu news. But anyway, how you doing?
Well, I think if we had recorded yesterday, you probably would have been a little bit enthusiastic. I think a couple days past, you have like videos of Griezmann crying. You have Griezmann's agent saying stuff. You have the Fati injury.
I shouldn't have given you that information.
I didn't even know about it until you told me before recording. But big day. I mean, this had the potential to go either way, right? Because if you look at Betis, you look at Valencia, as we have said, and you have brought up on the podcast, Valencia, the booby trap at the Mestalla has been a little bit overblown in the past couple of years. But
I had to think of you throughout that match.
You cursed it.
Yeah,
or I cursed it for bringing it back up. Either way, it worked in your favor. I think with Betis, 5-2 against Betis is such a perfect scoreline because that just makes sense. If Betis is involved and Barcelona is involved, I wouldn't have been surprised. If you told me 5-2 before the game but didn't tell me who won, I could have pictured it easily being Betis. I could have easily pictured it being Barca just because it's Betis and Barca together. It's two teams who will just go at each other and not really care about defense. Like, I think one of the striking things about watching that Barca game on the weekend was it's just so easy to create chances against Real Betis. It's like, one sequence, it's Fati cutting in from the left and shooting. One sequence, it's Griezmann popping up and having a great chance. And it was just back and forth. And Betis the other way had their moments too. Although I don't think they threatened nearly as much. They did have their moments. And Alex Moreno, himself, he got in behind Piqué and Sergio Roberto a couple times. But why don't we just start there since we're already talking about it? No need to shift gears too much here. We can stay on the natural path.
You're going through that game like fifth gear, man. You were going,
yeah. Let's channel the energy. So, congratulations on bouncing back and doing the intro for the first time in a long time. I can't remember the last time you did the intro. So, congrats.
Yeah, I think it's been like a week or two, maybe 3. It's well, I mean, of course I'm going to do the intro. I have to do the introduction after what can only be described as factually an historic loss for Real Madrid over in the Mestalla. And like I said, we'll get into that, but I had, my thoughts were going out to you thinking I cursed it. But Betis, Barca, you assessed it perfectly. I think this match, if you would have said who would have won 5-2, you could have picked either team. And you even almost, I feel, downplaying Betis' chances and real chances, weren't it, for really, again, the brilliant performance of Marc-Andre ter Stegen and a really frazzled, dazzled Barca defense that just looks frail right now. But Barca also, we had our chances. It goes without a shadow of a doubt. Massive Griezmann chances that, again, on any other day, you just hope or wait. You're just waiting for these to go in, man. And it's like chance after chance that is being missed, even from penalties that are being missed at this point from Antoine Griezmann. So I don't know how deep you want to go into the Griezmann topic. I don't know how deep I can go into the Griezmann topic myself. But I just feel like, people talking about the crying or his supposed crying as he walked off of the field. I think it was at halftime. It must have been at halftime. And then, of course, also his ex-agent, rather, coming out and talking smack and talking all kinds of shit. And Lizarazu as well about the French national team, how he's better there, more appreciated. Too many Griezmann apologists are out there at the moment. And, rather than Dembélé being subbed off consistently now after 60, 70 minutes, my question is, when are we going to see Dembouz playing full 90 minutes? Because I think he deserves that. And I think other people also deserve to be getting more minutes and be out on that field as opposed to Griezmann, because Griezmann's getting a whole bunch of minutes. He's getting a whole bunch of chances as well, that somebody of his stature just needs to be finishing at this moment. Not even the penalty. You can miss penalties, man. But I knew, and I think everybody knew, that he was going to miss that penalty. In fact, he had missed the 3 previous penalties leading up to that 4th penalty. This is 4th consecutive penalties misses in a row. And I need to fact check myself, because I think I overheard this on the radio, and I should have fact checked this before actually putting it out there as an actual fact. So I don't know. In the meantime, I want to hand it back to you, and I'll make sure to double check, because I think that's the responsible thing to do, Kiyan, as journalists, no matter if we work for the club. Putting out something like that is very telling, is muy llamativo, as you say in Spanish, but it's a fact. Right now, Griezmann is just not going through a good moment. And I think people coming out defending that is also you're being an apologist for the man. I forget how much he earns. He's one of the top earners of the club. I think it's 35 net, if I'm not mistaken. He's won World Cups. He's been star player at his previous team as well, and at Atletico de Madrid. He's won big important trophies. Again, something we reiterate from the past as well. He's often claimed that he sits at the same table as players like Leo Messi or Ronaldo. In order to do that, you're going to have to start making your chances. And not have people speak on your behalf, but doing the talking you yourself out on the pitch. Anyway, I'm going on a Griezmann rant, and I don't want to, I'm making this very personal or kind of singling him out for Barca mistakes that I think is a big factor, but we cannot single him out and say he's the only factor. You know what I mean? The defense is a problem. It's very clear. This team is unstable at the moment. Ansu is out. It gives also the chance, of course, to be others in that starting lineup. I'll be very interested to see a front 3 made up of Dembélé, Trincao, Messi as maybe number 9, and Coutinho behind him. I think that would be something interesting at this point to see. And I hope Koeman will continue to experiment and rotate and base his once titular, his starting 11 on meritocracy. Put it that way. And I'm gonna. How long am I going to go on ranting for, Kiyan? I'm sorry, my man. I'm sorry.
A couple hours, it feels like. Well, look, we're probably gonna
My
see.
apologies.
I'm kidding. We're probably gonna see those lineups you suggested without Fati now. I mean, I think you're gonna see a lot of Dembele, Pedri on the wings with Messi up top. Throw in Griezmann,
of course. Yeah.
This is and you asked earlier, when is Dembouz gonna kind of get some more playing time, maybe some starts in full 90s. I think now is the time without Fati where we're gonna see a lot of it. This is a hectic schedule, relentless football, no breaks anywhere. And so we're going to see a lot of that. But I think with Griezmann, I was joking earlier when I said, Griezmann crying and stuff, because I was like you. I was looking at that video. I was like, where are the tears? How do you come away so conclusively with evidence that he's crying?
Right?
He looks a little bit sad. I won't lie. But who are we to say what is going through his head and what's not going through his head?
Like I said, Kiyan, he looked like a guy who had been missing some sitters, some very big chances, and a penalty.
It was also a 3-second clip. It was literally 3 seconds of I was waiting for this is okay, now he walks in the locker room, the camera follows him, we see him just burst into tears. It was none of that. Anyways, I do think
match day style.
I do think his performance, those chances he's missing. The most notable outside the penalty was also the one where he cuts in the first half in the box and he goes just wide. That was a good chance. It was, chances like that. I think it was a good
test
hit.
The keeper.
Sure, I think chances like that get magnified when you're already on a streak of bad misses, right? If he's just missing that and it's 1 of 5 that he's missed, it's not a big deal because actually he did a good job getting himself in that shooting position, and he tried to do the right things. He was trying to curl it far post. It's funny because whatever you want to say about him, what I did notice about this game is that we always talk about okay, he's in Messi's shadow, so he's playing Messi's ideal. His role is Messi's role. They have the exact same best position. Messi does it at a superior clip, but Griezmann that's his role, right? He plays that with France. He's that roaming 10 who can kind of go interchangeable on both flanks. He can string things together. He can cut in from the right side. He can drop a little bit deeper. He can press. He can do all that, play the false 9 role. So without Messi, what I noticed in that first half was that you actually at least noticed him, where like there have been games prior where it's like you just don't even know he's on the field until after the game. You look at the lineup, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot he was on the field. What did he do? Okay, he had 13 touches in 45 minutes. He had 0 shots, or he had 1 shot where he missed. But in that half, that first half, obviously we're talking about a half where Messi didn't play, didn't come in until the second half. You noticed him. And I thought that was a little bit telling, where at least he was involved. Now it's ironic because it wasn't until Messi comes in, Messi actually helps him get the goal to get over the hump.
It's an assist. It's an assist.
It was genius.
Without touching the ball.
Well, I thought it was incredible because when you first watch it in real time, it just looked like Messi couldn't connect with it, or like there was just no way he was getting to it. The replay is like, oh, he very, very intentionally just lets the ball slip through him.
It's nasty.
I honestly can't think of many players, if any, in that situation would have had the same awareness, the same kind of just mental capacity in that split second to do that.
Very few players.
And that was important. So ironically, while we say Griezmann maybe needs to play without Messi, it wasn't until Messi came on where he got Griezmann that goal. So I don't know. Listen, the Griezmann thing has been an ongoing thing. Maybe that's the goal that he needed. And maybe things will be different now. I don't know. And this Fati thing, I think a lot of Barcelona fans are spinning it in a way like, well, the silver lining is more minutes for Dembouz, more minutes for Pedri. That's great. I don't discount that. But Fati was playing at such a high level that's really going to sting your offense to a certain degree, at least. I mean, 3-4 months is no joke. You said 4 or 5. I thought it was 3-4, but either way, let's average it out and say 4. It's a big blow.
So I've been listening to what you've been saying. I've been trying frantically to look for how many consecutive penalties Griezmann had missed, because again, I feel responsible to at least fact check that bit before putting out such a statement. I just can't find it at the moment. But with regards to Ansu, we'll keep looking though. I'm going to make this my mission. It's a massive miss. However, and this is the other stat that I wanted to pull up for you, Kiyan, which I think is going to be surprising. So whether he'll be out 3 or 4 months, I think it will be. I mean, right now the average is 4, right? It could be longer, it could be less. You could experience setbacks, and or he could recover quickly. In either case, I hope they take their time. Besides that, the stat that I wanted to pull up with regards to Ansu, the way the team plays when Ansu's with them and the way the team plays when Ansu's without them. With Ansu's already played 43 games, Kiyan. Pretty remarkable that, no? Would you expect?
Not bad for a kid.
It's a lot more than I had expected. Now, the team has played 17 games without Ansu Fati. Out of the 43 games, they have won 55.8% of the time. Without Fati, the 17 games, the team has won 82.4% of the time. The goals, with Ansu, 2 goals per game. Without Ansu, 2.7 goals per game. Goals against, with Ansu, 1.2. Without Ansu, 0.8 goals per game. I think we all agree, listening, I'm not trying to say that this team is better off with Ansu. It was just a stat that was... they mentioned it on one of the Spanish football talk shows, and it was something that I thought was interesting to point out. At least I would have never expected it. And again, I'm not insinuating that I don't want to have Ansu on my team. Don't get it twisted. This team is clearly better with Ansu. However, these are the stats at the moment as well. Okay,
I was going to say, because those numbers to me didn't seem that much in Ansu's favor, because I thought that was the point you were going to make. It's like, check this out. No, without Ansu, Barcelona melt and they fall apart and they collapse.
No, it's the opposite. It's the complete opposite.
Well, that's...
For the viewers at home that can see it.
Yeah. I mean, look, what are you going to take away from those stats? I see it. Well, the viewers can see it, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't think you can read too much into that. I mean, like, 43
Look, you're not
games.
going to reach
Barca's a mess.
The point, if anything, Kiyan, if anything, what I want to do with this is maybe try to lift the spirits of all of us culés that are feeling a little depressed at the moment. Say, hey, maybe it's not going to be all that bad without Ansu. The numbers show that the team has done all right without Ansu.
This is like when Kawhi left the Raptors and all the people were like, hey, it's not that bad. Like, you guys played without Kawhi this amount of games and you actually won like almost all of them. So you'll be fine. It's like similar vibes. Fati not playing. But, listen, Dembele being back is huge, I think, because, as much as Pedri's been good, as much as Trincao is promising, I don't know. He hasn't played at that high of a level yet, if you ask me, but he's been good. But Dembele gives you a more like-for-like replacement in losing Fati. And Lord knows, since losing Neymar, you need somebody like that, a winger who just takes players on, because Messi's the only one who's dribbling through players right now. So exactly. That's something that you guys need. And listen, knock on wood, coming from a Madridista, I really hope that Dembele is healthy, right? Too many times we've seen Dembele just come and go because of health issues. And even Fati, we all want Fati to be healthy. So speedy recovery there for Fati as well.
I can't stand the disrespect that Dembele has to put up with as well here nationally, man. Like, honestly, he's become a joke for the journalists, and it is very irritating and just flat out disrespectful. They're just talking about how much of a disaster he is. He's a disaster. Nothing works out for him. He's got this really awkward, weird dribble and a way of dribbling past players. They're using two legs. It's so weird. It's instead of seeing it as something quite, beautiful and just unique. It's the way it's true. The way he dribbles, the way he has control over the ball with both of his legs, the way that he can shoot with both of his feet, is remarkable. And it sometimes his regates, like his dribbles, come out work out well, and other times he loses. He dispossesses the ball. But I feel like they're hawkish over that, man. They look out for it much more than seeing the positives and the good sides. And now, exactly like you said, he's having a string of good results, good performances. Praise that in this boy, this young kid who could be a unique and marvelous football player, and we should be more protective of that. And like I said, on the flip side of that, they will. I put out a tweet. I said, imagine if Griezmann or if Dembele would have missed all the chances that Griezmann is missing at the moment. I don't even want to imagine the amount of shit that this kid will be getting from the press here. And that in and of itself is just wrong.
I've always been a fan of the players with that kind of agility, like that kind of street football N1-esque, it's so fun to watch when they're good at it.
Yeah.
Like the range of motion of players like him. Like players like him and even like players like Di Maria, just he's on my mind because we were talking about him last week. Like that kind of agility where the range of motion in which they move is so unique. I always found that kind of style of football fun to watch. And this goes back to his Dortmund days where he was so fun to watch at Dortmund. Like really, really I'll never forget him, Asensio, and Mbappe were the three front runners of that age group at that time, 3 years ago, where it's these guys are going to be the future. Obviously, Mbappe kind of took the mantle, and Dembele has been unhealthy, and Asensio has been in the funk for a while. So football changes, but Dembele, I won't give you I won't add any Dembele slander.
No.
Did you have any other Barca stuff? Did you want to talk about?
Other Barca stuff. Well, I could talk Barca all day, my friend. But since you mentioned his name, Asensio, maybe it's a good transition point because I was wondering.
Well, I'm just glad because the new Diego,
my boy,
the new Diego has come to the podcast with all this homework about all these La Liga teams, which means we don't even have to talk about Real Madrid anymore. It's just not a talking point anymore, unless they win the Champions League, and then we can dedicate some time on the podcast to Real Madrid. But
don't joke with that.
But we do have to have an Atletico segment at some point in this podcast because they're just flying right now. But
of course, hey, let's talk about it right now if you want, because in my opinion, and you can record me now. What is it?
Oh, we're recording.
November 10th, 6 6:42 p.m. Of course, not a.m. Canadian time over here.
No.
Atletico de Madrid will be La Liga champions of 2020-2021 season. I think
it's on the record. I actually don't dispute it.
Hey, I don't want Atletico games to end. I've noticed at the moment, like these past two games.
This is just this is like such a 2020 conversation. The world is falling apart. A pandemic has taken hold of the world. Atleti are fun to watch. Marcos Llorente is striker.
Marcos Llorente is banging in goals. The young Portuguese youngster Felix is banging in some awesome goals. He's just really, blossoming into an awesome player, man. One to just be consistently watching and appreciating at this time, because before you know it, he'll be, in his mid-late 20s, and you'll have forgotten his heyday, that time when he played at Atletico when he was a youngster now, and just, producing some really, really good moments of football and great, responsibility, great. He's explosive. He's got it all. I really enjoy, and Suarez next to him is a great partner, man. I think Suarez couldn't have gone to a better team. He would have made a mistake going to Juve, some other has-been team. You know what I mean? That's struggling. I mean, this is a team on the up and coming. In fact, I'll tell you here. Talk about stats. Another one I had made for you and our listeners, because I cannot show that picture.
Now you have to show that picture, whatever that was.
No, that patrons need to pay up for that picture.
Was it a churro?
Yeah, that was a churro pic. I don't know if you can see this, but for right now, at the moment, Luis Suarez and Joao Felix combined for a total of 10 goals. The last time that happened was Costa and Villa, also combining for a total of 10 goals after the same amount of matches. Now, that was in the year 2013-14. You know what year that was?
2013-14. That Correct. Was the Decima year. That was, what else? What else? Atletico made the final.
That was the year Atletico became champions, La Liga champions.
Okay. Yeah, that probably slipped by me that year because it was Decima year. Didn't care.
Man, who cares about that?
Well, that stat you brought up was interesting too, because in the first graphic you had Costa 8 goals, Villa 2 goals. This one, it was more distributed: 5 goals for Joao, 5 goals for Suarez.
Correct.
One thing that I think has been really interesting about Atletico is that, one of the concerns for Joao Felix that we had was there was if you just rewind the tape for a bit, as you like to do, rewind the tape all the way back to when Joao Felix was first signed for Atletico for that insane amount of money. Everyone was like, well, this is off of 6 months of football sample size. We have no idea what this means. His stint at Benfica, his run in the Europa League. What does that mean for Atleti? Replacing Antoine Griezmann.
Yeah.
I always liked his play stylistically, just the way he touched the ball. Obviously, the way he moved, it was kind of like Kaká in a way. I always enjoy that kind of style of football. And
Kaká pre-Madrid. You should mention.
Kaká pre-Madrid, and maybe 5 times with Madrid, 10 second movement.
Being generous.
Lost my train of thought with Kaká. Well, was Joao. Okay, right. He's coming in a style of football that is not known to get the best out of offensive players. Are you correcting my Joao pronunciation? Is that what you just did?
Like saying his name, Joao.
Oh, okay.
No.
Portuguese accent is not one you can correct me on. Not because I have it down, but because I'm sure that you don't have it down.
Wow. My Portuguese accent is spot on. My Brazilian Portuguese accent is spot on. I love it.
So I think with Atleti, unless you're someone like Angel Correa who can literally be a flamethrower of energy in specific moments, you don't really get your offense noticed too much in a team like Atleti. And Griezmann, again, was the type of player who did excel in that role, but it was also very comfortable without the ball for long spurts and and we all had to see if Joao would get comfortable with that. What was interesting is that this season, and we always say like Diego Costa, the moment he tries to change his style of football and be more attacking, it doesn't suit Atleti. It just doesn't work. And at times this season, it hasn't worked. But that's just kind of an eye test type thing. Their record in the league speaks for itself. They're comfortable. They haven't lost yet. They're the only team in the league who hasn't lost yet. And Joao's touches are dramatically more than previous season touches. Robbie Dunn wrote about this for Into the Calderon over the weekend after the win against Cadiz, where I think it was like something like his touches per game have gone up almost 20 per game. So he's actually become like a fulcrum of Atleti's offense, and everything's going through him. But also just the way he touches the ball, the way he moves with and without it has been really impressive. And I can't listen. Everybody knows I was a huge Marcos Llorente fan all the way back to his Castilla days, and then his Alaves days, and then his Real Madrid days under Solari. And I tried to write columns and do all these podcasts to convince Zidane. Zidane wasn't hearing it, sold him to Atleti. Did not have a great first year at Atleti, other than his goal against Liverpool and some moments last season. This season, he's just completely different role, different kind of dynamic. Just watch him play. He's so fun to watch in that new role. And one of the things that struck me about, well, he scored, first of all, but he also had an assist to Joao Felix early, where the Cadiz goalkeeper comes out, misjudges the ball, and the ball falls to Marcos Llorente's feet with the goalie out of his net, and a really weird angle and like a million players in front of him, between him and the net. I think a lot of players would have panicked in that situation. He just calculates it. He brings the ball down, and his cross to Joao was so good at the far post. I was really impressed just with that play, but his performance overall, this was really good from Atleti. It's been good from Atleti. So I don't dispute your claim about the prediction for the league. I obviously it's early, but one of the concerns that people are going to have with Atleti is that, well, can they sustain this by the springtime, or will they fizzle out? I don't have many reasons to think they will fizzle out. Their depth is pretty good. But one thing that would concern me is that if you have an injury to one of their very, very key players, such as, their central midfielders can be replaced because they have so many of them. Like if you get an injury to Saul or Koke, you can kind of piece that together. Now that they have Kondogbia, Torreira had a good game over the weekend too.
It's been good as well.
If you lose someone like Correa, you have someone like Carrasco. I think an injury to like Suarez or Joao Felix, maybe even Llorente would derail their hopes. But we can say that about any team, really. I mean, if you have an injury to Messi,
any team, man.
Yeah. I think they can be there in the springtime.
I think so. Look, I think they have the right combination of, guys who are ambitious and hungry and just playing good right now. You look at the team and look the way that they're interacting as well. You got Koke, who's, seems genuinely excited as well, just executing at a very high level on a consistent base, which is kind of what we've been missing as well from players who have been there for a little bit longer, and it kind of settled in a sort of a funk where we didn't see Atletico evolve into that team that was meeting our expectations, and had to suffer through 0-0 draws or 1-0 wins, and that seems to be taking a turn for the better at the moment, and it's exciting to see. And, they were playing at Cadiz. Don't forget, Cadiz, who they put 4 past. This was on the last podcast I mentioned how Cadiz had matched a record set by Real Madrid previously, where I think if they went 4 or 5 away games without conceding any goals and winning. So, this was Cadiz that was very good on the road. And
yep,
simply dismantled by Atletico de Madrid. So, I don't know. For me, yeah, I understand it's early days and very early days, and a lot can change depending on many factors. But let's just say that they're a team that I really enjoy watching at the moment, along with others. Real Sociedad, who continues to win as well. But this Atletico team, I think, they have the experience. They've got a good combination of experienced player. You add somebody like Luis Suarez. I mean, you don't need to talk about the experience of Luis Suarez. He's been there everywhere. So we know that he can deal with it. And the way they're combining also the midfield but the guys themselves at the front, you talked about Llorente assisting Joao also assisting Llorente, and of course Luis Suarez as well assisting him, and he's putting the goals away. It's just a really good combination they got going on there, man.
All right, now is the time, my friend. Whatever you want to say about Real Madrid, get it off your chest. Get your R's out. Roll your R's out. It's a big weekend for you.
Man, it was really good. I really enjoyed watching this match. I have to say, it was just poetic almost. You know, it was seeing so many VAR decisions, penalties go against Real Madrid, and then
how shocked were you? So what happened? Do you think that maybe Florentino's check bounced before the game? Is that one? Is that what happened?
That must have been the case. You know, that has to be. You know, who is it?
Maybe they were like, Florentino, you check bounce. You got to send an e-transfer. If we don't get an e-transfer until by noon here, we got to give some penalties against you.
He called Florentino and said, "Hey, Florentino, you hear that? Listen, you hear that? Florentino's like, no. He's like, yeah, me neither. That's the sound of my wallet without any money in it. Change it." Click.
Maybe that's why Barcelona announced they were like 800 million euros in debt, because they had to send an e-transfer before the Valencia game to make sure that Marcelo's penalty stands, among other things.
That's probably it. Look, man, I got to tell you, VAR is a beautiful thing when it's applied correctly, and we can go into each decision. We can go into each decision, and but I'll tell you what. I'll tell you right now. I don't think Marcelo should have deserved the penalty called against him.
Okay.
Other than that, they were all the right decisions. Other than that,
yeah, that's probably the right take.
And I say, obviously, there's people that argue that it was the right decision on Marcelo. Prestigious people, referees, journalists, etc., from both camps. I think that's a harsh decision, and they both go for the ball. Who was it? Marcelo and who was it from Valencia that's disputing the ball? I forget now.
Maxi Gomez,
right? And yeah. It's a dispute for the ball, and I'll tell you what else. The claim of the foul on Isco leading up to the
Asensio,
leading up to the what was it, the 2-1?
That was I think that was the Varane own goal. I think I may be mixing them up.
In any case, I haven't seen. So that was. So I'm happy to admit this. All the calls were right, except for the Marcelo one. I think that was incorrect. There shouldn't have been a penalty called. Now, then after I saw there's talks of the foul on Asensio leading up to I think there was the 2-1. I haven't seen enough takes of that to definitively say that attack or that foul led up to the attack. Because that what I understood of the rules is, what the referee takes into account when checking VAR, etc., whether to call a foul or not. So, I don't know if you have anything to say about that. But.
I've seen it a few times. I don't think it's definitive either way. Either. I think Asensio was a little bit dangling on the ball a little bit too long as well. I think some of it is just on him being careless with it,
milking it.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And I would what I would do here in this situation, I would bring up two things. I was like, well, the Marcelo penalty put the game a little bit more out of reach, right? Which was unfortunate. Having said that, I like to look at the more big picture stuff here. I don't know, like you look at some of these defensive sequences. On that penalty, the very penalty Marcelo conceded that shouldn't have been a penalty, just a shambolic mess. Right. Like just everything leading up to that. Modric, Asensio defensively leading up to that. Varane has had weird lapses over the past couple of years. The the Ramos handball just at that point was just comical. It was like, what do you even do with that? Like, it's like you just kind of laugh. You have to laugh at that. I had a lot of Real Madrid fans looking at that and being like, well, it's not his fault. He went to hit Maxi Gomez, who was he? I don't remember who he was guarding now even. Anyway, was it Musa?
Was it Chetty? I think it was. Yes, it was.
Okay.
Was
so I don't know. A lot of Real Madrid fans were saying, well, he was just trying to hit ex-Valencia player instead, but then the ball bounced up, which means he hit the ball. Like, okay, fine, but if you look at his swinging motion, he wasn't just trying to hit. If he was trying to hit, he wasn't just trying to hit. He was trying to literally punch him like Wolverine. It was like such a forceful punch.
It was Musa.
So either way, what you want to absolve Ramos or blame or not, say it was an accident or whatnot, it's up to you. Ramos is one of the greatest defenders of all time. I choose to very much accept his greatness and I will live with these little moments of Ramos things, right? It's Sergio freaking Ramos. So I'm not going to sit there and be like, well, this is all Ramos's fault. Obviously it's not. But I could do nothing but laugh in that moment at
it was over by then. It was
over by then. That was the thing. Now some interesting questions arising. So Real Madrid's upcoming schedule. We did this with Barcelona, I think a few weeks ago, where we're like, okay, they have Sevilla, Getafe. Mm-hmm. You had Juve. Turned out to be Juve was the easiest game because Juve kind of sucks. Let's be honest. And they were playing without Ronaldo. Now Real Madrid's schedule, it's like, I don't have it in front of me off the top of my head. It's Villarreal, and then you have it?
I'll pull it up in a second.
I think it goes Villarreal, and then
here we go. Villarreal, Inter, Alaves.
Alaves is
so
the
Villarreal
easiest
and
one.
Inter.
Yeah, but keep going. It's tough.
Hold on. All right. Okay, here. So Villarreal away, Inter away, Alaves at home, Shakhtar away, Sevilla away, Gladbach then at home, and then Atletico at home. So, okay, yeah.
It's pretty tough.
It's pittig, zoals ze in Nederland zeggen. It's spicy.
And even those champions against Shakhtar and Borussia, we know they're going to be tough. And if they're not going to be tough, they're going to be important. Let's put it that way, okay?
Yeah.
Hazard and Casemiro recovering from COVID. Also, the international break helps here, which is buying us some time. Fede Valverde out with
for a month.
Yeah, with a broken foot or something. I don't remember the exact injury. And then you have Benzema. Hopefully, we'll be back for the Villarreal game, although it's unsure. So it's going to be a little tough string of games. So I'm looking at a couple things. Can we rely on Martin Odegaard now to come in Fede's absence and help pull some strings together, help with some of the team's verticality, help with some of the team's movement, help with some of the team's build-up, press resistancy, all that snaz. I'm really looking at Odegaard here with a keen eye. If Benzema misses the Villarreal game, will we see Mariano or Jovic fill in? Or will we see something different with Rodrigo as false nine? Just things I'm looking at. And
Jovic will be available and not in jail. So
yeah. That I don't know. Maybe he would rather be in jail at this point. maybe in jail it's better than seeing Mariano being called
in jail with COVID.
Maybe in jail.
He's like, give me COVID and put me away.
Poor Jovic. A lot of this isn't his fault, but some of it is. But a lot of it isn't. So.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Based on what you've been seeing from the team, it's funny, because Madrid, what was it? Ever since the Clásico and before this Valencia game, it's been on sort of parade mode again. Obviously, also beating Inter, and then tying in a heroic fashion against, I don't know, was it Shakhtar? But now, is this like opening up a wound that has been there, that has been sitting there, that's been rotting there for a while? That it's kind of like, oh shit, these string of games are going to define our season.
I don't know about that, but if I were to follow along with the wound analogy here, the wound it's been the same wound that has existed since 2018. If you ask me, it did not. Some of it was kind of stitched back up in the title run last season after quarantine. That was huge. But the offensive problems didn't go away. That was
the defense, though, right?
It was the defense, which has again melted again this season. But who's to say that it won't get back to where it was? I mean, that defense didn't get sorted until it was the winter time, where it got sorted around that time last season, and continued to be sorted until the end. But I think the wound is still the wound. It's still kind of like patched up with things, right? I think the moment the wound comes like gushing out, and it's just like it goes from a wound to like this just big gash of like guts hanging out. I think that'll happen like after a bad Clásico loss or after a bad Champions League exit. I think that's when it'll happen. It won't happen now. The wound will become a big gushing wound if they don't qualify from the group stage.
Guts. Like the gazelle will still be like crawling with the guts kind of scraping over the floor, the Sahara desert somewhere, and then come a Clásico or a big Bayern in the Champions League and really rips the guts out. That's when shit's gonna hit the fan. Yeah, because I say that, I make that analogy because it's just so apparent that the problems there are there, right? And I mean, I get the economical, the financial constraints and issues, obviously, that all the clubs are suffering. That's obvious, right? We don't need to look very far. But
can I just also provide
it still surprises me. It still surprises me that Florentino Perez, the Almighty, opted not to make any moves over the summer. None.
Well, we know why. I mean, it's because of the financial situation and whatnot.
But still, surely something could have been done. Some movement could have been done.
Well, Odegaard was, the movement. I agree with you. More could have been done.
Odegaard was brought in.
More could have been done, yes.
You got to be critical. Like, I feel there's like you got to be critical. Florentino out. Or does that hashtag even exist?
Bad idea. More. But the more that could have been
paranoia
done.
As of today.
The more that could have been done would have been something like, maybe you should have you should have brought Reguilón back this summer, unless it was like absolutely impossible to move on from Marcelo. You really should have. Marcelo's a liability, and so Achraf is a little bit more debatable because I don't know if he would have wanted to stay. Reguilón literally said yesterday that I didn't get a chance to have a say. Like, no one talked to me. I didn't get to talk to Zidane. It wasn't my choice. And for that reason, I'm at peace with it because I only can control what I can control. If the club didn't want me, then the club didn't want me. So what can I do? So that was a telling quote. But
on what team that you can think of would Reguilón not be a starter?
Real Madrid.
I'm trying to go through.
Possibly with Mendy there. But that's besides the point because we knew he still would have gotten valuable minutes that Marcelo was getting. On what team would he not be a starter? Possibly Liverpool, Bayern. I don't know. It's just off the top of my head. Anyways, the other thing here I wanted to mention was the other perspective of this.
This is going to take too long for me to research.
Yeah. No, I think we got the obvious ones, Liverpool and Bayern out of it.
Yeah.
I think the flip side of this is that I also want to provide a different perspective here, in that like everyone's talking about Zidane and all the things and the wounds and stuff. The Valencia defeat, in a way, it's not that it was a fluke. It's Valencia deserved their victory, but just the perspective that this was a very weird game where you concede 3 penalties and you have really 4 bad defensive sequences, a couple others, but those are the main 4. And you were vulnerable defensively, and your offensive issues didn't get any better. I mean, there was a little bit more fluidity in the team's build-up. There was a little bit less stagnation in the movements of Isco, Asensio, and Vinicius, but Vinicius wasn't good again. Rodrigo maybe an option to look at there. But the point is that the 4-1 against Valencia is not going to be the defining moment of this season, and the team has plenty of time to recover. After this upcoming schedule, we'll see where the team is at. We'll see if the team can qualify from the Champions League group stage. They should be able to, and if not, then God help us all. But I don't think this talk of like Zidane in trouble is way, way too premature at this point, in that nothing is going to happen right now at this stage of the season. So it's not that it's one game only. It's not one game. It's 2 years of problems. But also, this one game against Valencia was a little bit weird, and that the way that was unfolded was it kind of magnified a scoreline that if you replay it 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be 4-1, because just the way the ball bounced, the way the defense dealt with certain situations was kind of weird. And Valencia didn't do anything outside those 4 sequences. Again, I'm not trying to belittle the scoreline or diminish it. It obviously magnified some of the team's flaws, but this game we could be singing a different tune by Christmas, is my point.
No, listen, that the things will change, for sure they will change. Real Madrid in that sense is, people are discarding. I don't know what you're alluding to, whether it's the firing of Zizou or we're discarding them for the La Liga title race.
People have been talking about that stuff, right? I just wanted to provide a perspective of like, it's way too early for that kind of talk.
Of course. So the only thing is that it's clear as well. You talk about plenty of time to recuperate. I don't know if recuperate is the right word that I would use. Maybe say, because games are coming fast and strong. In the case of Real Madrid, you just mentioned, we just went over the next fixtures as well. The other thing that the team has is the ability to prove themselves twice a week for the next whatever it is, 6 months or how long is the season? Until May, right?
Yeah, something like that.
I do think, who knows? I do think that that there are problems there, but I mean, when you look at Valencia, I have no doubt that Real Madrid will be challenging the league title. I think in Europe will be different. I think what is more interesting as well is to look at Valencia and, see the things that they did well, who really it was a different kind of Valencia that came out on the night. Much more aggressive, I would say, in the way that they approached the game.
I thought they were okay. I honestly didn't think they were that good, which maybe makes the loss even worse. But I think Real Madrid lost this game in every sense of the word because of their own shortcomings. We even let Carlos Soler retake that first penalty. Like, what else do you want from us, Valencia? We gave them everything they wanted. They were okay. I don't think they were that good.
What do you mean by we even let him retake the penalty?
Well, just the first penalty, Soler missed it, and then I mean the point is a little bit moot because Musa would have scored the rebound anyway, but I'm just saying, like, we gave them every opportunity.
Okay, well, look, it wasn't obviously Madrid's finest performance. I thought that I saw a Valencia that did definitely look a little bit more inspired or a little bit more aggressive in their play on the night, which is, not weird to see neither, because we often see these kind of performances come from Valencia against Real Madrid when they face, tougher opposition. That's what makes Valencia always just, one of those teams that you mark on the calendar because they're tough to beat, whether it's against Valencia or whether it's against Real Madrid or whether it is against Barça. I thought that Gaya had a really good game. I mean, also
was awesome.
Took the headlines. I thought he had a fantastic game. I thought that Soler obviously took the obvious headlines for the fact that he made a hat-trick of penalties, handing thereby Real Madrid this historic loss. And in case the listeners don't know, historic because this is the first time that Real Madrid had conceded 3 penalties in one game, which I don't know if they were the only La Liga teams that have ever conceded.
I think it was like 5 years or something. It was honestly, it was not as long as I thought it would have been, but it was like a few years.
In any case, I think there were positives for this Valencia side that hopefully, Gracia can build on. Canning Lee had some good shots, some good some good plays as well, chances to score. Carlos Soler, obviously, like I mentioned. I mean, he was very. Also, again, I mean, for a youngster, I think he's in his early 20s as well. I was impressed with how he wanted to retake that penalty and ended up taking all the penalties. So good character on the kid, and whatever.
Their defense also held up well. I mean, it would sound like, and the other thing that Real Madrid didn't make it difficult for them is that Real Madrid's offense was the same kind of mundane issues. I mean, again, I mentioned some of the things that were a little bit better, but 27 crosses from Modric, Marcelo, and Vasquez from those three players alone, and Paulista and Griezmann were just picking them away. Like they defended well, they held up well. Real Madrid's defense is one of the main talking points, but their offense was just bad again. And if you lose Benzema for too long, I don't know. On another level, it's like we always say, what does Real Madrid's offense look like without Benzema? Like, where would it be? Because he's been carrying the offense. We don't know because we just never have seen him not play. That's the other funny thing about this is that what does the offense look like without him? Probably suffers. Don't get me wrong. It obviously takes a hit. But I would like to see some other options there. And I'm still a huge fan of giving some kind of continuity and rhythm to any backup striker at this point, whether it's Jovic or Mariano, who I really like too. We have a patron question. Do you want to get to that now?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Can you hear the kids screaming in the back or what?
No, I just hear rumblings. I don't know what I'm hearing. You could have told me it was anything, and I would have believed you. I don't know.
Quiet before the storm, my friend.
All right, so this is a good place to almost wrap it up. Then Ted Glynn says this question is primarily for Diego, and feel free to adjust or feel free to respond to this post in case everyone else knows this already. So maybe someone he's responded to on Patreon. I don't think so, but just in case. Prior to this season, I've only heard of Barca fans being known as culés. There is now a banner at the Camp Nou that says, join Coolers membership. What is the difference between coolers? Coolers. I don't know how to say that. And culés. So first of all, set us straight about the coolers. Coolers.
One is Castellano, the other one is Catalan. Culé is Castellano, culer is Catalan. Or Catalan.
That simple?
Yes, it is that simple, my friend.
Cool. All right, well...
Vols parlar una mica en català?
I think that is probably not necessary at this point. Maybe we can do a special edition, Catalan Patreon edition, over on patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas.
Just real quick, I agree. Alphonso Davies is the starter on his team. And I would go for, I guess also your pick for Liverpool, Andrew Robertson, also would be a starter there.
Yep.
Hey, this was fun, man. I enjoyed this little video session of Churros. Hope the viewers do too.
Yep. Patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas for a Friday bonus episode. And we have some Spanish national teams coming up, which I'm sure will be part of the discussion. And as always, follow us at
España, Netherlands, and then España, Suiza.
And then Germany. So follow us on Twitter at Churros Tácticas without the Y. Follow us on Twitter too, at Kiyan, at Diego Lorijn. Those are some big accounts to follow as well. Thank you so much. Diego, it was a pleasure.
Yes,
chat soon.
Follow.
Take care.
Thank you, sir. Yes.